and then we'll move on to mother. Because this has to do with energies and whatnot, and it's actually a good segue. Ken and I, a couple of years ago, before the COVID shutdown, went to a rock store in Hermiston. And we were, Ken's laughing, he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Well,
no, I didn't think it was funny at all. I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. But we went into this rock store, and the owner of the rock store, she had an issue with me. And I said nothing. Okay, I walked in the store, I literally said not to peep. She's having a conversation with Ken. They're going back and forth, but all of a sudden there's this vibration that's coming towards me. And she looks at me and she goes, "What sign are you?" And now, mind you, I have not said a word.
No,
I didn't communicate with her at all. I was just picking up stuff, looking at stuff, feeling the vibration of the stones. I was doing nothing, right? But she had to stop me, and she said, "What sign are you?" I said, "I'm Aries." I said, "But I have double Mars energy." And anyway, it became very, very uncomfortable with this woman in this store, and I wanted to get out. And that was pretty much all I said to her. But the vibration that was coming towards me, which was being projected, was so uncomfortable that it took me a bit to gather my senses when we got back in the car, because I was really confused as to what was going on. Like, it didn't make sense to me. Now I know what was going on. I still had a lot of wrestle in myself. I wasn't walking in shalom. So I was projecting it outwardly. She was picking it up, and there was a vibratory frequency because she was wrestling as well. So just my presence started stirring her up in her wrestle, because we were both wrestling, and it like went boom, like a powder keg went off, because we both had some significant wrestling that we hadn't resolved, and we were becoming face to face with one another as a mirror. So she was feeling it strongly, even though I didn't feel like I was projecting it on her because I didn't talk to her. But that energy, remember the tuning fork, right? My wrestle, or her wrestle, was activating my wrestle, and they were both vibrating very strongly in the moment in that interaction. And I didn't understand it back then. I guarantee if I walked into that rock shop today, well, it's not in existence anymore, but if I walked in that rock shop today, it wouldn't be the same. Yeah. Because I'm not wrestling like I was. I have a stillness with it.
And I was standing between two tuning forks.
Yes.
It was really awkward.
It was extremely awkward. So So if you want to have really lovely, marvelous relationships with everyone you meet, turn all your shadow.
Yeah.
Then everything is just lovely, and you can have lovely relationships, and you don't have to go through that like I did, because it was very awkward and very uncomfortable. And she was like double Mars energy too. And it was like two bulls that were going in a ring and going head to head. And it was the strangest thing I've ever experienced, truly.
Well, yeah, as if we all have a little feral cat in us until we're settled, right? So we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that feral cat within us, because it wants to claw, it wants to run, it wants to bite, it wants to scratch, it wants to do what it does best. And it's out of protection in the innocence of what in fear. It doesn't know anything else. That's its tendencies. But when we realize the house cat is really in the place of comfort, it's complete chill, and it's just interesting.
Yeah,
right?
If you met our cat, you would see.
But you can see the difference in that vibration. So until we deal with our own feralness, right, then we're going to have issues, and then it's going to project on another person. And that's the whole gist of what we're trying to share, is we can, herding cats, right? How do you fit all the cats into one house? Without chasing tails, right? Because that we're trying to move into a collective as a language of awareness, as situational sound, but it only takes one feral cat in the house to ruin the whole thing.
Whew, yeah, it does. Yes, Shelley, I totally agree with that. I think Isha's, if we look at the narrative and what it's trying to teach us about ourselves in that story with the demon, what do they call it, Legion? When we have such a light vibratory frequency, and we have turned all our shadow, we shared this, I think on Saturday we were talking about this, but it's a good point to bring up here too. When we are vibrating at such strong light and we've turned all our shadow, when we are in essence around people that have a lot of shadow, what that ends up happening is our light disturbs the shadow. Like, we're meant to show them their shadow, and you need not have to speak a word. And so this is why you're going to either have people that are drawn to you, especially when you become the Aleph. Again, I'm directing it all back to the Aleph. So when we're resonating to the Aleph frequency and we've unified ourselves, it's going to draw people who are going to repel them, dependent upon the level of their shadow work they've done. If somebody has a lot of shadow work they've done, they're going to say you feel like home. And they're going to be drawn to that frequency. They're going to want to come into that frequency. It's like, oh, this is family, right? And we all still have a few little shadows and tweaking things that we are, but they're going to be drawn. It's like, this is family. This is home. This is origin. I know this vibration. I know this frequency. But if someone has a tremendous amount, it's going to strike fear in their heart, because it's the exact opposite. And that means that they have beast ego, feral kitty, feral cat in them, and feral seed, and all they can see is the darkness that's in them, because the light is so bright, and it activates fear. So if we can learn to not take it personal, like, oh, they have a really strong issue with me and blah blah blah. No, they have a strong issue with themselves. They're terrified of their own shadow, and they had to run because they can't see anything else, because your light is so bright. And this is why unconditional love and compassion and rakam, where we're lifting up life, is so important for us to operate in that when we are the Aleph, because the power is so intense that it will bring life or it will bring death just from you showing up. You don't have to say a word. You won't have to say a word. And it's totally dependent upon the frequency of the other, if they are still choosing to be separate and hanging on to their darkness, which is why, Carolyn, I'm so happy you brought that up in the comments on Patreon. That was absolutely beautiful.